Well, guess what I hit way up here 6 inches high, aiming at the center. I thought I saw a mark right here, but obviously not. But you can see how tiny those little 17 caliber holes are. Something old, something new, something walnut, and something blued. Hi, Ron Spomer with an old single-shot rifle in a new caliber that I'd like to show you guys. This is the 1885 Winchester single-shot falling block rifle. It is really something, but it was actually a Browning. Yeah, in 1878, young John Moses Browning was working in a small gun shop in Ogden, Utah with his brothers and his dad. And he was really getting frustrated with the rifles of the day. All these parts lying on the table, and he said to his dad, "I've just had it with this junk. I could build a better rifle than this." So he did. And it took him less than a year with primitive tools. I mean, it was mostly handwork, but within a year, he had designed and built this essentially single-shot rifle and gotten it into the patent offices with the blueprints and everything. It was just crazy how quickly he did it. And not only that, but they started selling. They sold the first 25 they made, and then the word got around and they made about 75 more and sold those. And then a Winchester salesman was in the area, and he saw one of these rifles. He sent it back to headquarters, and Bennett, who was vice president of Winchester at the time and an engineer himself, was so impressed with it that he got on the train, came out to Ogden, Utah, made Browning an offer they couldn't refuse. $8,000 for the works. Winchester now owned Browning's single shot. Well, that started a 20-year relationship between the two, and as you probably know, Browning designed all kinds of rifles for Winchester, and shotguns, autoloaders, lever actions, you name it. But this was the seminal product. This started it all, and it is really a simple and effective design that's still around, and it still works well to this day. So what we have is essentially a lever action, but it's not a repeater. It's a single shot. So you drop the lever, the block of the breech falls straight down. Well, there's a slight, like 6-degree cant to it to help lock it up really tightly. But you drop that down, and then you've got the breech open, and all you do is hand load a single cartridge right into the chamber, close the breech, and you're ready to fire. The hammer is automatically cocked. You can let that hammer down easily to a half-cocked position in which the hammer does not touch the firing pin, so it's safe if it gets struck. Well, with this scope on top, we're not likely to strike it, but in the old days, if you drop it on a rock or something, it could have gone off. So they've got the half-cock safety. Again, you're ready to shoot, pull it all the way back, and you can fire. So it made it pretty simple to load, pretty simple to carry, pretty safe to load and carry. And the rifles were really popular with your everyday pioneer and farmer and rancher because they were fairly inexpensive, and they were so strong that they could handle the biggest, toughest cartridges of the day. That's something that the lever actions couldn't do yet. You know, the original Henry was a 44 flat, shot about a 200 grain bullet, maybe 1,000, 1,100 feet per second. Then they invented the centerfire version of it, 4440 as it's known today. That's still around, but it's a puny little weak cartridge too, 200 grain bullet at about 1,200 feet per second. But the rifles just couldn't handle those big pressures because of the toggling lock system that they used. Well, this one didn't have any kind of a problem with weak breech. This is a solid block of steel that slides up and down and seals up that breech. So they could chamber the 4570 and the 4590 and 5110, all the big Buffalo cartridges. And people just needed that kind of stuff out west in those days because pioneers out in the middle of nowhere by themselves, you might run into a grizzly bear, you might run into a cougar, or they might run into you. So this was a darn popular rifle in its time. And of course, once the autoloaders and the pumps and all the modern rifles came in, these things started falling by the wayside, but they're coming back just because they're so strong, so simple and accurate and just plain fun that Winchester is making them again, and folks are starting to appreciate the brilliance of John Moses Browning's design on this single-shot rifle. Now, the one I borrowed here is chambered for something really weird, which is that rimfire cartridge, the 17WS WSM. And this is the fastest, most powerful rimfire cartridge in the world today. They used to have a lot bigger ones way back when, but you cannot load those rimfires to the pressures that you get with a center fire, and that's why rimfires are never all that fast or powerful. But they've got this one cranked up, and if you want to learn more about it and its ballistics, check on my channel. I've done about two or three videos on this cartridge, and it really explains what is possible for it to do. It can outshoot the 22 Win Mag and the 17 HMR, and it comes pretty close to the 22 Hornet of all things. So you might want to check that out. But why would I want it in a single shot like this? Well, it's a fun gun. I mean, it is just so much fun to run that action and pop those shells in and out. And it's good for, obviously, varmint. Some people would use this for coyotes, foxes in the hen house, varmints in the hayfield. If you've got a lot of rodents out there plaguing your crops and you need to pick them off, it is really fun. They invited me on a shoot in Wyoming a few years ago with one of these, and oh my gosh, I was popping off prairie dogs and saving the alfalfa. And it was just amazing. I could reach out to 200 yards so easily with this. When they first came out with that 17 WSM, I was out with a prototype rifle and the prototype ammunition, and we were shooting out to 300 yards, and I actually shot a 2 3/4 inch group at 300 yards with this. So it's got some potential. Just how well this rifle will shoot, I don't know, but it should shoot pretty darn well because this 24-inch barrel is floating. The forend on here hangs on a bar that juts out from the front of the action. So it's not touching, it's not impacting that barrel at all. So a guy ought to be able to tune that thing to shoot pretty darn well. And octagonal barrel, to me, that just is perfect on a rifle of this vintage. It just says the Old West. So you can get this in a low wall version like this in the rimfires. They got 22, 17 HMR, as well as this WSM and 22 Win Mag, I believe. But you can also get it in centerfire cartridges. Not just the old ones like the 4570, but fully modern ones up to 300 Winchester Magnum. They've even got it chambered now for the 28 Nosler. So you've got some pretty high pressure cartridges in there. No problem for these rifles to handle that. Now this is a low wall model, and you can see the low wall sloping back. On the high wall models, the steel comes back and covers all of the falling block breech here. And that's a quick way to just determine which is which. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit heavier build as well. You can get it with fancier wood. This is just your plain American walnut. It's got some nice little figure in it, but nothing fancy. But if you want to get a fancy one, they've got one with a case color hardened receiver, octagonal barrel, 26 inches, and some upgraded walnut. I mean, that is a real classic if you can afford it. This guy right here goes for about, I think suggested retail is about $1,500. Not cheap, but not expensive either. So if you are looking for a fun rifle, you might want to check this guy out. It is a cool falling block lever action. Now, here are some of the little features you probably want to look at. In addition to that half-cock hammer, right back here, you're going to see a funny little projection, and that is for the ejection of your cartridge. It stops it. So you got your brass coming back, and the brass catcher stops it from popping way back in the grass somewhere, so you don't have them flying all over. But you can turn it left and right, so the cartridge would eject off this side or the other side, or if you want to keep it in the middle, it just pops right back and you can pick it up. So it's kind of a nice little feature there. Boy, there's an adjustable trigger on this thing. You pop that lever, and right back here, there's a tiny little screw, and I think you screw it clockwise, and I think that reduces the pressure. I checked this one out with a pull gauge, and it was right at about 2 3/4 pounds. They claim they go down to 3.5, but this one's a little lighter than that. Then you can crank them up to 5. I don't know why anyone would want to do that, but it's nice to have that fully adjustable. What else can I say about this rifle other than how much fun it is? Really can't. Obviously, this one has had the open sight that it came with removed, which I think is proper for a 17 WSM because this thing has got some reach and you can do some fine shooting on some small targets. So he's got a little, one of my favorite little scopes on here, the Swarovski Z3 3-9 by 36. I think fits that rifle. It's small, it's light, and it's plenty powerful enough for most work that you're going to do with this one. But, you know, if you wanted to reach out and really take advantage of that little rimfire, 200, 250, 300 yards, you could probably go with a more powerful scope and do it. So, that's our rifle. Let's see what it'll do on a target. Well, I've got something new I want to try. They're Alpha Shields. It's from Tetra, and they're little, not just cutting off 20 decibels of sound, but they actually enhance normal sounds. So if you're on the range, you can hear everybody talking, you can hear leaves rustling if you're hunting, but it stops the loud gunshots. So I'm going to try those instead of the typical shells that I wear. So let the fun begin. Get that guy dialed up to 9 power. I'm going to go for that lower left red dot. It's just so fun to shoot. There's no recoil, almost no sound. Notice how that ejection pops that round out nicely off to the right. Such a treat after shooting centerfires for so long to just be able to watch your hits. Not that I can see a hit with this tiny little bullet. I can't even see holes in the target. But it just stays right there. And that's why it's so fun to shoot at varmints out in the alfalfa field. You can see your hits and your misses and compensate if you need to. Hey guys, after shooting that group the other evening, I decided to clean the barrel. And as I was doing that, I thought, you know, I'm going to check to see how well that forend is floating. So I ran a little slip of paper bound and found out it wasn't floating all that well on the left side. So I thought, well, I might as well show you guys what's going on. So here's your rifle with that little forend off, the hanger bar. It screws up onto this hanger bar with these 2 little screws right here, 2 of them like this, tiny little guys. And they just hang it on that bar, so you've got a forend to hold on to. It really has no function. So if I slide that back into position and then test it for floating, we've got a fairly tight fit, but it's floating up front. But as I get toward the back, it starts to jam up. So I'm getting pressure right here. And that just might be impacting. Although the group I shot, windage was good. It was the vertical, but it's feeling like I'm all right underneath on the vertical, like it's not touching. But yeah, I think I'm just going to sand this off anyway. So what I'll be doing is sanding out this channel just along this edge right here. I don't know if you can see that. So I found this in my paint supplies down in the barn, and this is octagonal. So normally I would use a dowel rod. It'd be just rounded all the way, but I've got to be careful and just give it a light 150 grit sand right here. And I'm just going to gradually sand on that and try the fit until I'm getting good clearance. And once that's done, I'll go in here and seal it up again to keep the moisture out. And then we should be good to go. I also want to check this. Make sure that's not hitting. No, that's not hitting at all. That would show up under here if it were. And that's not anywhere close, but something you'd want to check. Just make sure on any kind of floating forend stock business that you're not touching in any weird locations. But as you can see, it's pretty simple. They've just got a nice, strong, heavy bar coming out to hold that forend. Functionally, though, you could shoot the rifle like this. Wouldn't be very comfortable, though. Well, we'll get her done, get that barrel finished up on its cleaning, and see what kind of groups we can get. See you back on the range. Hey, speaking of cleaning, one of the hassles with a 17 caliber is that tiny little bore. You've got to get special rods that'll fit it. So I have a couple here, 17 caliber rods. Then you need, of course, your brushes and your jags and all the end pieces and such, and some really tiny patches. I just ordered a batch of them years ago from Brownells, and these are 17, but even those are a little bit too tight to fit through, so I have to take a scissors and cut a little corner off of each one of the patches to make sure that they'll pass through. But once that's done, it's really not that much different than anything else, other than you need to be a little bit careful of not bending the rods or breaking them in any way. Pretty straightforward after that. So I've got it soaking right now, so I'll just push a patch through. Feels like a pretty nice smooth barrel. You can see the patches are still dirty, but they're coming a lot cleaner than they were when I first started. So we're getting close. I'm not seeing any green or blue, so I don't think we have any copper falling in here. I've been using a little bit of the copper remover from Otis, and it usually does a pretty bang up job pretty quickly, and it's just not been bringing much up, so I think we're probably good there. So back at it. A few more passes here. Get that fore-end sanding done. We'll get back out on the range and see if this thing will shoot. Now yesterday it was shooting really high, like 6 inches high, and I got this vertical string. Good windage, but the vertical stringing was bothering me, so I cleaned that barrel, but I also worked on the fore end because it was touching the barrel a little bit on the left side, and I sanded it down. And now here are my 3 shots. These 2 looked encouraging, but whoa, who's this way down here? Well, clean barrel. That might be what's at fault. Before I get jumping any conclusions here, we're going to shoot some more groups and see what happens. It should settle down now that we've got a few foulers down it. Well, let's hope that fouling shot settles this down. 3 shots down range. Let's see if we can get some consistency now. I'm going to aim at that crossbar right above it. I think I see some holes down there. Doesn't look too bad. Now I want to experiment on these next shots on this next group by putting the support a little further back on that fore end. It looks like it's still floating. It should still be, but sometimes that pressure out front makes it touch on some rifles. So we'll swing over to this center bottom. I'm noticing quite a bit of lateral movement with each shot. I'm not sure if that's affecting my accuracy, if that's an artifact of the recoil. But I'll pay a little more attention. That was better. Yeah, I think that slim little fore end is not ideal, obviously, for working off of bags at range shooting. That's why they invented that flat beaver tail fore end. That's a much better option for target shooting, but boy, for hunting it sure feels good. It carries so nicely. Well, let's head down there, see what we did. Well, looks like about 1 1/8 inch, 1 1/4 here. That was the first group, and here was my last one. I was aiming right here. On this one I was aiming right here, so once again, about the same, 1 1/8. That might be what this rifle does, but it might be the ammunition. I'm only trying this one brand here, so I may play around with that. 100 yards, about 1 inch group. It's going to do for a 100-yard rifle, but with that 17 WSM and the range that it's capable of reaching, I'd like better accuracy than that, so play around, see what else we can do with it. Meantime, if you're looking for a fun falling block single shot rifle, check out that 1885. Like I said, it comes with a lot of centerfire cartridges as well as the rimfires. I'm thinking right now a 22 long rifle would really be a hoot. Hey guys, I just remembered that I had better luck shooting this 17 WSM with the heavier bullets, 25 grain bullets, and I scrounged around and I found some of the original prototype loads we had. Didn't even have the official box yet, just some white ones. But this is a 25 grain bullet, and I thought I'll try that, see how well we shoot. Meantime, what a difference a day makes. We had a big snow, so I waited a couple days for it to melt off and warm up a bit. But back out here now, can't access my regular range, but I put a target way up there on the hill. And I'm a little, have to apologize for this goofy setup, but the bench is solid, and I shot 2 or 3 groups already just to see how well it would do, and I'm looking like I'm right at about a minute of angle, an inch or less. We'll get up and measure them later. I was smart enough to bring a spotting scope out this time so I don't have to run up there through that deep snow. But we'll get up there later and look. Right now I want to shoot a few more groups and you can watch. Quite a steep angle here. Oh man, I gotta get way down. This is not a comfortable position. Okay, let's see, where was I? This will be the red dot on the lower right. Got the 2 to the left already. I pulled that one a smidge to the right. Not going to look quite yet. That felt good. Nice thing about this for high volume shooting of a rodent plague is that the reloading takes just long enough for things to cool down a mite. That felt good. I think instead of looking at that group, I'm going to shoot a 5-shot group a little higher on the target. Let's see. I'm just going to go for the center red dot this time. And we'll put 5 in there. All right. Yeah, we just went from fall to winter in one fell swoop. That was pretty crazy the way that snow came down. Now this 25 grain bullet's hitting about 2 inches lower than the 20s were doing. And I've seen if I don't snap this lever, it'll leave a cartridge in there every once in a while. You have to kind of give it a brisk snap down. It's getting cool with the sun going down. I think I see a hole every once in a while. Now I've been talking and forgotten what kind of volume I just shot. I think that was 3. Better pay attention to my business here. A little movement on that one. Settling down pretty nicely. One of the tricks that I might do is to put pressure between the barrel and that hanger bar. A lot of guys will do that on the Ruger #1s, and it makes them more accurate to get a little pressure on the barrel. I might look into that for this rifle too. Because what I'm thinking is that barrel is so long and light that it might need a little extra help, something to stabilize it. I'm going to take a quick peek here. No, that last group didn't work for beans. Oh, that's funny. I was shooting pretty well. But once again, I've got the vertical stringing, and I'll bet you putting that pressure bar on there is going to help with that. But it looks like I got, yeah, some 1-inch groups. Those first 2 I shot. Better try another one. I wonder if the barrel is getting dirty, because this is, yeah, that's something going on here, because one, oh my goodness, I climbed up. Back to vertical stringing again. You know, that's the fun thing about these rifles. Play around with them and try to figure them out, get them tuned up. I don't know if I'd ever, yeah, I guess I would. I was going to say, I don't know if I'd be happy if I ever just bought a rifle and it performed perfectly. That does happen. But it's always fun to get a project rifle and then just give it your special little touch. Where are we going to move to this time? Okay, I'm going to go to that top left. That one didn't feel real solid again either. Need to look at something to give me a little better catch there on the lateral movement, I think. All right, Mr. Shell. Let's give me some good shots here. That should have given me an inch group if I was doing my part there. Check it out again. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's about a 3/4 inch group. I'm liking it. I don't know what happened with that 5-shot group. It just went up and down for like 3 inches. Ha. I gotta shoot another one. This is too fun. This one will be on the black stripe in the middle on top of the circle. Oh, that felt good. Cubby has given up. Started shooting and she was all over this one thinking it was hunting time. But after about so much running around looking for a bird to fall and finding nothing, I think she's figured it out. Yeah, that's fun. All right, I give it a quick look. I just can't stand it. Oh yeah, it's like about another 3/4 inch group. So why don't we go out there and measure some of those? I mean, you can listen to me huff and puff going up the hill. I'm liking these Alpha Shields, by the way, too. That's so much more comfortable than having the clamshells on. Tetra is the brand name. Yeah, T-E-T-R-A, Tetra. And they make a variety of these. These are Alpha Shields. And they'll tune them up for different kinds of hunting based on the sorts of sounds that you're expecting. Like if you're deer hunting, you want to hear the rustle of a deer tiptoeing through the woods and stuff. And if you're in the duck blind, you want to tone down the scream of those duck calls. My gosh, those things can hurt. Well, let's go up there and see what we've done. I'll take the camera up. In case you wondered about the snow depth, looky there, that's my trail going up and back when I put up the target, which is between those bushes and the taller one above. The little white target's hard to see, right there in the center. We'll get up there and see what we look like. There it is, my good old Birchwood Casey portable stand. This thing saves me quite often. All right, since I'm here by myself, we'll just get this target and talk about it. So when I started shooting this afternoon, I did my first group way down there. And as you can see, I've got 2 holes, but I cannot find the third. 1, 2, must have shot under. Then I moved over to the middle, inch square, so that's just under an inch. We'll call that MOA. Then I went for this dot and hit down here, but that's a nice little group there. That's getting close to, well, under 3/4 it looks like. Then I tried this 5-shot group in the center, and I don't know what went wrong there. We're needing 1, 2. I got a 2-inch spread again. maybe I wasn't paying enough attention. So then I went up to this corner, and that's a nice little group. And then I slid over to that aiming point. As you can see, everything's dropping about an inch and shooting right. So that's another under an inch. Yeah, we'll take that back. I'll put a ruler on it to show you guys. But yeah, you can believe me on that one. That's a nice little target for that rifle. But I'm still going to play around with that hanger bar. Hey, how about that group? Just a smidgen over a half-inch group right there. That's pretty nice. I'm liking that. So that's it, folks. That's our model 1885 and 17 Winchester Super Magnum.